I had one person, a singular person, recommend this game to me in my YouTube comments. I had never heard of it before, so I looked it up on Steam. And the trailer honestly kind of sold me. It looked like a budget Half-Life 2, but with higher detailed weapons. Hey everyone, Jarek here. The early to mid 2000s is my favorite era when it comes to first-person shooters. They just have some of my favorite games. Half-Life 2, Halo 2, Doom 3, Fear, just a very big soft spot with me. So when I saw an indie game made by almost a singular person out of Russia, basically replicating Half-Life 2, I had to at least give it a try. You know, why not? It's only 12 bucks on Steam. This game is called Red Alliance. I had never heard of this game before, and you can't even input it on Twitch, it's just not in their system, which led to everyone asking what game I was playing when I was streaming it. Now believe it or not, Red Alliance runs on the Unity engine. At first I assumed it was a source mod project that got ported over into Unity, but apparently it was just made into Unity from scratch. This person learned how to code just for this game. This is very apparent the more you play the game, but I'll get onto that later. First, let's start with the graphics, and there's a surprising amount of options in the menu. Virtually everything you'd want to change is here. Yes, including an FOV slider. Although some of the animations when raised to 90 can look a little bad, but I'll deal with this over a bad FOV. But really, every option you would expect is here, plus a bit more. And this is a good thing, because this game will test your GPU if you have everything maxed out. At least if you're me. I'm still running on a 980 Ti, which is 5 years old at this point, but it's still a good card. Man, I hate being stuck in the position where you can upgrade, you just don't need to, and you can still play every game. Point being, if you need to turn things down, you can do that. And you might have to, because there's a big emphasis on lighting, and surprisingly the lighting actually looks really good in this game. The game released in 2018, and in this regard doesn't look dated. That said, it starts showing that this was made by basically a single person in Russia when it comes to a lot of other things. Presentation is very hit or miss. For every bit of lighting that's good, there's some other weird things like there being no lip syncing at all in this game.
We struggled too much because of his lunacy. Dr. Gray, he must be stopped. I will find him.
When people talk, they just stare at you with plastic faces. Animations are definitely very stiff and not up to snuff for 2018. Some of the texture work can look considerably worse than the rest of the game, like all the snow. Aesthetically, the game is consistent, but visually, some areas just look a lot worse than others. But again, I keep having to add, this was made by basically one person with the help of a few other people in Russia, and is only 12 bucks. For that price, and for the amount of team they had behind it, this looks really good. There's a pretty good amount of attention to detail when it comes to the weapons, which is arguably the most important part of a shooter. I'll talk about that later. Now we move on to the plot. It's not bad. It doesn't exactly make me think. Not about anything deep anyway. Or much of anything at all, for that matter. But I mean, it's not great. The plot is pretty generic as far as video games go. There's an evil scientist, he's conducting research, he's trying to manipulate people and mind control them, he has his own army, the locals are being suppressed, you join a rebel group called the Red Alliance, and that's the entire setup for the game. Red Alliance proudly wears its inspiration on its sleeves. This is very, very similar to Half-Life 2. You can't not notice this when the opening segment resembles those apartments in Half-Life 2 right at the beginning of that game. You have to fight your way through tons of these soldiers, and not everything went as planned apparently with that mind control idea, and it just turns people into mutants when it messes up. So now you also have zombies to fight. Eventually you do meet up with this scientist, and this is my new favorite villain death of all time.
I can't believe it.
What's going on? How did you open that door? Do you have any idea what's in that room? Shit! Why can't I close it? What have you done? Get me out of here! I can't die here! Not like this! No! 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 Ah!
This is how it ends for him. He was too obsessed with his experiments and himself. His greed to glory and his obsession killed him. There isn't much to watch here anymore. Let's get out of here now.
Oh my god. Yeah, when I said the plot isn't necessarily bad, I meant just purely in theory, because in theory it's pretty generic. It's not bad, it's not great, but it's not bad. It would pass as any video game story. The problem is the quality. The voice acting is really bad in this game. I expected this knowing it came out of some Eastern European country. I didn't know it came out of Russia at the time, but you know, whatever. Expect bad voice acting from a game that's coming over from that part of the world. But I just couldn't help but laugh at how bad it was. I don't mean to be mean here, but bad voice acting is always going to get a chuckle out of me. And oh boy, there's not really any good voice acting anywhere in this game. It doesn't help that, like I said, characters do not have any facial expressions at all. It's the same plastic face. Their mouths don't even move when they're talking. And when it comes to the story, usually it just involves them talking at you while they do a standard walking animation or crouch walking animation. And the few times this game tries to throw cutscenes at you, man, they can be rough.
Subject 2, stand up, now!
What was that animation? Someone clip that, please. Ow. But you know what? That's fine, because I laughed at that. These aren't frustrating negatives, it's just funny. It's a cheap $12 game. You're going to be getting some enjoyment out of it with this. And honestly, none of this matters, because that's not why you're playing the game anyway. It's the gameplay. I saw something that vaguely resembled Half-Life 2, and then a lot of somewhat realistic looking weapons, so that's what I was interested in. The weapons. So I guess we'll start with the guns, because it wouldn't be a Jarek video if I didn't talk about guns. Most of these weapons are modeled and textured pretty well with animations that are actually surprisingly decent. Some of them don't work well with the higher FOV, but whatever. They all sound fine, they all have empty and non-empty reloads, although some of these don't make any sense in any way whatsoever because their empty and non-empty are both empty reloads. Yes, I'm not kidding you, their non-empty reload is an empty reload, their empty reload is a different empty reload. I'm sorry, what? To add on to this confusion, the guns are baffling in different ways. For example, the M4 and the 74U share ammo, yet the Scar L and the M4 does not. The Scar L shares ammo with the AS Val. What? All of these weapons have an ungodly amount of recoil that is just impossible to control. And you can't carry all of them at the same time either. You don't have a 2 or 3 weapon limit, no, you can carry 6 different weapons, so I don't understand why you can't just carry all of the guns you want. Clearly they're not going for realism here, so it doesn't make any sense to me. Your backpack, so to say, there's not any actual backpack you need to open, but let's just call what you carry in your back your backpack. Your guns are split into 6 different groups in your backpack. You have your melee weapons, your pistols, your SMGs, assault rifles, your special weapons like snipers and shotguns, your heavy weapons like RPGs, and grenades. The Tech 9 shares ammo with your pistol, but also counts as the assault rifle and SMG category, which is rather annoying, so you just don't have any reason to use it. Not unless you want 2 guns using the same ammo and just running out of ammo real quick. And the running out of ammo is going to be a huge problem because there is nowhere near enough ammo in this game. Especially since, for whatever reason, you cannot pick up ammo for guns unless you are carrying those weapons. You can pick up ammo boxes, but you can't pick up the ammo off the guns. For example, say I'm carrying a Scar L and I walk over an M4. Since those 2 guns in this game for whatever reason don't share ammo, you just won't pick up the ammo out of that M4. What if at some point I run out of ammo with my Scar and I want to pick up an M4 to replace that and have ammo for something else? Too bad. The ammo was the biggest problem I had in this game, and I know why. This game is also classified as survival horror, but limiting my ammo doesn't make it survival horror, it just makes it annoying. Now I should point out here that you're fighting more than just the generic soldier dudes. You're also fighting mutants in dark areas that are supposed to be scary, I'm pretty sure. But these mutants are nothing more than just brain dead zombies. And the horror are basically just occasional jump scares.
Like, games borrow from each other, that's perfectly... Hi, holy shit. Games borrow from each other, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's not scary. I didn't think Doom 3 was scary and it had way better atmosphere. This is not scarier than that, and Doom 3 isn't scary. There was one moment that was basically ripped directly out of Fear 2 that was just a ghost trying to throw things at you, and that was interesting, but it wasn't implemented entirely well, and I wish they did a lot more with this. But vast majority of the time, you're going to be fighting generic soldiers, which is perfectly fine. Like, I'm being very negative, but the game honestly wasn't an awful experience. It's just one of those things where having more ammo would have made the game a lot more fun. In fact, I eventually just opened up the console and typed in "give ammo" so that I could really go ham. This is a shooter, and the main fun I was having was fighting generic soldier dudes with a bunch of different weapons. And in this case, the game actually does exactly what it's supposed to, perfectly fine, for only $12. Yeah, the enemy AI isn't exactly intelligent, it's actually pretty dumb. Yeah, the voice acting is particularly bad, but the guns still feel satisfying, and this says a lot to how much guns can carry your game. You add in some good animations to your guns, make them sound powerful, add in some satisfying headshots, and you've got a decent shooter at least. Plus it helps that I only spent like $12 and it's currently on sale for like $6. The thing is, this game wears its inspirations on its sleeves. And I respect it for that. The opening is blatantly Half-Life 2. Later on, it even has a vehicle section that is just Highway 17, but in snow.
Are you telling me you don't want to shoot a hole in Mars? Holy man, this thing... Oh! This thing hauls ass! I don't think I can use it. What the f*** did I just do?
In hindsight, this works better in a game engine with proper physics. You constantly stop your car to get out and explore buildings. One of them even had a regular civilian point a gun at me and call me a thief and tell me to get lost. This was genuinely interesting because you have a few options here. A. Leave. B. Shoot him and steal all his stuff. There's no negative repercussions here. You have that option. There's a moral choice because, I don't know, maybe you want to be a good person or a bad person. Or maybe you're me and you realize that you just don't have much ammo in the game, so you don't care, so you're gonna kill him and take all his ammo. Either way, stuff like that is genuinely interesting. And the fact that it was basically lifted straight out of Half-Life 2 is not a negative thing. You don't necessarily have to be innovative if what you're doing is fun. Video games borrow from other video games all the time, and this one happened to borrow from Half-Life 2 pretty heavily, and also Fear 2. In general, its inspirations were mid-2000s shooters. And I can always have more of those. I don't have a whole lot more to say. The game is rough around the edges, but at the same time, for a project by someone that basically learned how to code just for this game is pretty impressive. I had a lot of you guys stop by on Twitch, something around 50 to 75 concurrent viewers at any given moment while I streamed for around 4 hours. It was pretty awesome. Thank all you guys for showing up. If you guys want to check me out on Twitch, my Twitch is twitch.tv/JaredForGamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time, which is neat. And speaking of subscribing, apparently around 63% of people that watch my content haven't subscribed. That number has actually gone down. It used to be around 75%. Keep clicking that bell, keep subscribing. It helps this channel immensely when you do that. Thank all of you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.